Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Dychronic, your host here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the two new auto rifles from the Festival of Lost activities, the special weapons at the end of the final chest, the Braytech Werewolf and the Horror Story. Both of which are 450 RPM precision frame kinetic auto rifles, so they function in very similar ways, and we're going to be reviewing both of these in this video, talking about the god rolls, whether they're worth it or not, how to get them, best ways to do it, all that whatnot. So if you've never heard of these weapons, they're going to be these special weapons that drop at the end of the Haunted Forest. So any one of those chests, including the final chest and the cipher chest, will have a chance of dropping these auto rifles as random or curated roll. And both of them have been up to their 1360 maximum sunset levels, so if you do like these kind of weapons, you can keep them for a long time. And for some reason, when you compare both of the stats of these weapons, you'll see that the Braytech Werewolf actually has objectively better stats in almost every single category. So objectively, it seems like the Werewolf has the advantage, on top of the fact that I do like the perk options on it better as well. The only benefit the Horror Story seems to have over the Werewolf is that it actually has sight options, where if you don't like these sights on the Werewolf, which I actually find are completely fine, you have options with the Horror Story. Moving forward, let's talk about these weapons in PvE. First up, let's talk about their god rolls. Now when it comes to the god rolls on both of these weapons, honestly, I like the curated rolls. On both of the curated rolls, there are perks that are not available in the random rolls, including things like Rampage, Multi-Kill Clip, and Zen Moment. All of these perks are really important, really nice for both PvE and PvP, so if you get a curated roll, that's the one I would personally keep. However, when it comes to the random rolls, you're going to be wanting to focus on things like handling and stability, because their range is pretty much at the maximum anyways, and you don't really need that much more. For the Braytech Werewolf, I like things like Arrowhead Break, Ricochet Rounds and Light Mag, Dynamic Sway Reduction, which is an excellent perk to have on an auto rifle, Swashbuckler and an Unrelenting. Swashbuckler is an actual damage perk, nice to see, and then a Handling Masterwork. Handling is going to be an issue with them, they really need to be fast. For the Horror Story, I like the Red Dot Micro. Sights are totally up to you, but I like these stats and the look of the sights. For the second perk, I like Steady Rounds and Tac Mag. Third perk, I like Firmly Planted, which really goes to show how bad this weapon is if Firmly Planted is my choice. Fourth perk, I like Demolitionist, and then for the Masterwork, honestly, either range or handling if you feel like you're losing a lot of range because you don't have a lot of those range perks or stability perks, range or handling work. When it comes to the feeling of these two weapons, honestly, it feels like it has slow handling, slow RPM, kind of par to subpar damage, even though also still has good perks. And in the end, TLDR, it just feels weaker and shorter range than the 390 pulse rifles, which if I need range, I go with the 390 pulse rifles. 450 auto rifles just feel like an awkward middle zone. When it comes to the pairing of this weapon, you're going to want to pair it with a short range, higher DPS weapon, like a shotgun or a grenade launcher that's part of the meta. And finally, the use case of these particular auto rifles are going to be best used in the easy to medium level PvE, best used against miners at mid to long range, and honestly not really that great against high health enemies. However, because of its good stability and its range, you can chip at enemies from a long range, which is really kind of boring. Next up, let's talk about the PvE side of this weapon. First up, let's talk about the god roll. And again, I like the curated rolls better than all of the other possible random rolls for both of these weapons. So if you get the curated, you got yourself a good one. When it comes to the random rolls, you're going to be focusing on a lot of the same things, handling and stability at the foremost needed. For the Braytech Werewolf, again, Arrowhead Break, High Cal or Ricochet Rounds work great for the flinch or the control. Dynamic Sway Reduction, again, great perk on an auto rifle. And then for fourth, Tap the Trigger or Swashbuckler, depending on what you need, control or extra damage. And finally, a Handling Masterwork. For the Horror Story, I like the Red Dot Micro, Steady Rounds and Tac Mag, Killing Wind for the third column, which works really well in the Crucible, Moving Target, which is really good on auto rifles, and a Handling Masterwork. Is the issue, because when it comes to the feeling of these weapons, the handling is going to be quite poignant in PvP. You're going to need much faster handling, sprint to fire speed, aim down sight speed, just regular pulling it out of your pocket speed. You're going to need to quickly swap to those shotguns at times when you pair it with a shotgun, so you're going to need that handling. Furthermore, for the feeling of this weapon, other than the handling, it feels like it's really slow RPM, especially after using these 600 RPMs for so long. It feels like subpar time to kill, and it actually is subpar time to kill. It takes 7 headshots to kill an enemy, even though it also, again, still has some good perks. And the biggest issue with this weapon is that it just feels inferior to the 600 RPM auto rifles, which inherently have better DPS, better time to kills than the 450s. Pretty much across the board, the faster fire rate weapons have a better potential because generally they're harder to control and have less range. In this particular instance, Gnawing Hunger has good enough range to handle almost everything it needs to do. So you don't need more range while you still have better DPS and better time to kill. In the end, honestly, range is not going to be your friend. That's the reason why scout rifles are not part of the meta, because Bungie made the maps in a way that you can always reapproach from a closer angle. You do not need a lot of range across the board in PvP. And again, if you want range, and obviously you've seen it, people are using snipers. If you see a big range, you want to handle a lane, snipers are the way to go. And that's going to be pretty much the end of the video. In recap, this weapon in PvE just feels like an awkward middle zone that's not really needed between the shorter range hand cannons and the longer range pulse rifles and bows. I don't really need that zone. And in PvP, they are outclassed by the 600 RPM auto rifles, which we have Gnawing Hunger, Long Sunset, and everybody has one. So it just feels like one of those weapons that just doesn't have a purpose. But if you want to get yourself a 450 RPM auto rifle that lasts for a very long time, very high sunset, these are going to be the weapons for that. And perhaps in the future, Bungie's going to make some changes. Although I do not expect them to do so because they're not really that popular of a weapon archetype. But yeah, that's going to be the end of the video. Let me know in the comments down below what you'd like to see from me next. Make sure you stay tuned for the weekend video. We'll be talking about all things Festival of the Lost, the best farming methods, everything that has to do in the event, what you need, what's there, what everything, you know? So stay tuned to that video. And of course, thank you for watching. My name's Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.